This is J. Krishnamurti's first public discussion in Ojai, California, 1978.
Little hall. I believe this is a dialogue or a conversation between us. We are not offering one opinion against another, or one thought against another, or one judgment or conclusion against another. What we must do, I think, is to talk over, as two friends, our problems. Friends who are concerned with their life, with their problems, with their relationship, with the whole of life. So, what would you like, if I may ask, that we should begin to discuss or have a dialogue about? Before I answer this, what would you like to talk about or have a dialogue, conversation? Yes, sir.
I was wondering whether you could elaborate on how to create interest in students to learn something that they're not interested in.
The questioner asks how to create an interest in something that you are not interested in. Right, sir? All right. What next, sir?
I wonder if we could go into the question of the mysticism, and so forth.
The question of mysticism, and so forth.
I want to discuss mysticism, occultism, telepathy, levitation, and what else? Kundalini, and is that what you want to discuss, sir?
I want to discuss education, especially the different ages of children, how they should be educated at different ages, because I think they are not all the same.
How children of different ages should be educated.
How children of different ages should be educated. Yes, sir.
I want to discuss how do you listen to the movement of thought without getting caught thinking?
How does one listen to the movement of thought without getting caught in the meaning of the associations and so on?
The gentleman who preceded you said that he felt that moving here was the most important thing that he did in his life. Can you tell us how we each can make every moment of our life the most important thing?
One of the parents came up here and spoke before you came on. The parent said moving to Ojai was the most important thing he had ever done. How can all of us make every moment the most important?
Other questions enough? Yes, sir.
Fear.
Fear.
Isolation.
Fear and isolation.
I'd like to talk about meditation and whether it's good to
If I understand it rightly, the questioner asks, is it possible to meditate without giving a special time to it and not putting other activities aside? Is that right, sir?
No, I think it is obviously possible to do that, but I'm asking, is it also beneficial to set aside a time every day?
Is it also beneficial to set aside a period of time every day to meditate? Yes, sir?
How to live without belonging to anything.
How to live?
Without belonging to anything.
Without belonging to anything.
Without belonging to anything. Now that's enough. Yes, sir?
You have said that to be free you have to observe, or to observe you have to be free, but isn't it also true that to be free you have to learn how to observe? So could you comment on that, and also perhaps on the context in which you use those words, which might have created a conflict between those statements?
How to...
To be free, you say, one must observe. But to observe, one must already be free. How get out of that conflict?
Which came first, the egg or the other? Now that's enough, if you don't mind. Which of these questions would you like to talk over together? Well, the questions are, if I can repeat them, if there is no interest, how is one to create interest? Right? That was one of the questions. How to meditate? Is it beneficial to meditate certain periods of the day and all that? And would you also talk over mysticism, occultism, telepathy, what else is there? Kundalini and levitation. Would you also talk over how to educate the various children at various ages? What else was it? Observation, how to observe without association, without remembrance, right? That is the meaning of that. Now, which of these questions would you like to talk over together? Which is that?
The last one. Observation without association.
Would you like to discuss observation, perception, seeing, without introducing words with their associations? Do you want to discuss that? Yes. Why?
Why not?
Huh? You say, why not? Are you interested in this question? Does it mean anything to you to find out seriously how to observe? Is there a way of observing without the interference of words with their associations, with their condemnations and approval, the whole movement of verbal remembrances? Are you deeply interested in this? Does it mean anything in your life? Because if it does, then we could discuss it seriously. May we go into that? Is that what you want to discuss? Yes. You're quite sure? Right. Isn't there one of our difficulties when you listen to a statement, to make an abstraction of it, to make an idea of it. Isn't that a fact? That is, one listens to a particular statement or opinion or judgment or evaluation, and immediately there is a conclusion away from the actual statement. Has one observed that? Which is making an abstraction of a fact into an idea. Right, sir? So, when we talk about observing, is that observation an abstraction or as an actual perception, seeing? You understand? I hope I'm making myself clear. You tell me to observe without the association that observation brings about. I hear that, and from that I make an idea. And from that idea, ask myself, please tell me how to do this. Which is, I have moved away from the fact to an idea and want to find out how to carry out that idea. So, let us be very clear right from the beginning, if one may point out, are we making an abstraction, that is, a way to abstract, away from observation? Making an idea of it, a conclusion of it. Or one wants to discover the actual, if I may use the word, purity of observation. I wonder if I'm making myself clear. Which is it that we want to do? Which is it that we are doing? Are we making an abstraction, or do we want to find out for ourselves the act of observation? What is involved in that? Not the idea of observation. Am I somewhat making myself clear? So, if we are not running away or abstracting or moving away from the act of observation, then we can ask, what is the act of observation? What is the actual fact of observation? Do we see anything? The hills, the mountains, the rivers, the sky, the wife, the husband, the girl and the boy, the nation. So anything without the idea interfering with it, without the image coming in between, without my conclusion about it. Now, which is it we do? Is there an observation without interference? Interference of thought. The thought being the word awakening the associations connected with that word, and denying the associations and trying to go beyond the word, and therefore you're in that process you never observe. Then can we go on from there? So which is it that we do, actually? Do I observe those flowers? Does one observe those flowers without naming them? Look at them. You will see how extraordinarily complex problem it is. To observe them without naming them, the moment you name them, there comes the associations of like and dislike, that there are carnations, and I don't like that particular color, or I like that color. All that interferes with the actual seeing. Right? In the same way, can I observe my friend, my wife, the girl, and so on, not mine, once, observe without the interference of the various imaginative, thoughtful associations that I have had with that person. It's a very complex problem, this. Because for most of us, observation becomes, observation is always through an association, through memories, through images. Then the problem arises. Won't you discuss with me? I might make statement, then you can discuss all this. Then the problem arises, is it possible not to create images, pictures? You understand my question? Because they interfere the clarity of perception. So when I ask, is it possible not to have these images, these pictures? You understand?
Up to a certain point, there is clarity of observation, but some mechanism at some certain time takes over and the clarity disappears.
That's right. At some time, the mechanism of thought, mechanism of the images takes over and clarity disappears. That's what you're saying, sir.
The associations are there. One is becoming aware of them all the time. Then what? In the sense of observing without association.
Can we go into this very slowly and carefully, in detail? Then perhaps we can understand each other. Please, I'm not persuading you to think the way I observe or I think. I'm not fostering something upon you. We are together looking into the whole complex problem of perception. First of all, there is the perception through the optical nerve and so on, and then you see. When does the mechanical process of creating images about what you see take place? You understand? When? You ask that question. So let's make it much more simple. In your relationship with another, intimate or not, when does the mechanism of creating an image about that person take place? How does it happen? You understand my question?
that's when the mechanism may take over on memory.
So, look, let's keep it very simple, still simpler. One meets a person, is introduced to that person, then that name, the face is remembered, recorded. Then when you meet that person next time, that recording says, you're so-and-so, I met you day before yesterday. That's this whole mechanical process of registration, which interferes with perception, right? Go slow, wait a minute, lady, wait a minute. Right, sir? Are we clear on this point? You insult me, it is registered. And when I meet you next time, I'm a little bit nervous, withdrawal. Or you flatter me. It is registered. And I say, how nice of you. We are friends. So this kind of registration is going on all the time, right? Which obviously, logically, reasonably shows all this interferes with observation, right? Now, the question is, please let's find out, the question is, how is it possible? Is it not how? Is it at all possible to observe without the whole mechanical process of remembrance interfering?
Should be possible.
Huh?
Should be possible. It should be possible.
And it should be, so that is, I'm hungry, you should be able to eat, but there is no food.
What I meant was that you should be able to learn how to do that. So
we're going to find out.
Well, that was an answer to your question, sir, that's all.
We're going to find out. That's why I want to go step by step into it.
Sir, it seems to me as long as we're concerned with the accumulation surrounding the perception, we cannot.
Yes, we are stimulated, and so all that is another form of remembrance. Registered, and that registration is memory, and that memory interferes. So you're married, some of you, or you've got girls or boys. Haven't you images about that person? Don't those images interfere with your actual relationship with that person? Right? Obviously. Now, we are asking the mechanism which is constantly operating, can that mechanism stop for a few seconds even? You understand my question? Am I making it clear? Please, I want to get on with this because it's very complex, as we said. So, one sees there is the registration taking place when the name is remembered, the face is remembered, the particular association with that person is remembered, right? That goes on all the time. Pleasant or unpleasant, dangerous or safe, and so. We're asking, is it possible, can this mechanism come to an end so that I can look?
Sir, is it possible to observe without making a judgment or naming it and accept it as for whatever it is?
Is it possible to observe something without making a judgment or naming it? That is, accept it for what it is.
No. Is it possible To observe without judgment, just to look at what is. Is that it? Is that the question? Right. We are doing that, we are exploring that. Why does this mechanism operate? You understand my question, sir? Just listen to my question first. I'm not stopping you from discussing or having a conversation with the speaker, but I'm asking you, why does this mechanism of creating images, conclusions, opinion, why does this mechanism operate? Why? Huh?
We do not pay attention, then the mind starts to move.
Yes, sir, but we are saying why? Why does this mechanism function instantly? Huh? Are you sure it's not a guesswork?
Sir, when I have a strong emotional reaction, only then, if I hate someone or admire someone or I'm afraid of someone, then the image persists. Otherwise, if there's no reaction, the person is new to me every single moment. Now, the emotion, if I ask myself, why do I have the emotion, then I have to ask myself, why do I have hands and feet?
What do I have?
Hands and feet.
If I have to ask myself, why do I have the emotion? That's like asking, why do I have hands?
No. Why do I have hands is different from why do I have emotions.
But I have them is what I'm saying. They're just there. I have them, they're just there.
They're there. Why? We have emotions of anger, hatred, resistance, and so on, so on, so on. Why? Is it inherited from the anthropoid apes right from the beginning? Or is it a temporary passing thing? You understand? Please go into this little bit. You're going too far ahead.
Is not love a faculty which we have allowed to atrophy?
You got it, sir?
Is not love a faculty equal to hands and feet which we have allowed to atrophy?
Is not love, like any other faculty, being atrophied? You see, sir, we are talking about perception, sir. Love is something which we have to go into, if I may suggest, perhaps after we go ask this question.
But sir, I'm answering your question.
Huh?
He says he is answering your question.
Which is?
You asked why. Where did it begin? Where did the mechanism begin?
I said.
I say it began when love was atrophied.
Yes, it began when love was denied, was dead, was killed.
I don't think it's dead.
Atrophied, all right. It is paralyzed, any other word you like to use. Are we answering that question, sir, if I may ask? Why do the mind, the brain, create images? The images are very active.
From fear.
What?
From fear.
From fear.
Fear. Which means what? As the gentleman suggested, it may be because in remembering, in association, in the image, there is great security. Right? Somebody has robbed another of his things. That is registered. And next time you meet that person, you say, you're very, very careful, which is security. So is the brain registering all these things in order to have security?
But sir, if someone can rob me of something that provides me security, am I not already lost?
If someone can deny my security by robbing me of something, am I not already lost?
Lost? I mean, what do you mean by that?
I said, if I have established myself on the basis of something, if I have my security involved in a thing which someone could rob me of, am I not already lost?
Yes, sir, probably. If somebody takes away all your things, you are obviously lost. But we are not discussing for the moment that. We are asking, why does the brain registers at all? You follow? Please go into this, please, for a few minutes. This is very important because we are always living in the past. And the past is the registration movement. Right?
And the future.
What?
And the future.
And the future.
As the future or the past?
Anything with the old time.
Do we all understand clearly that this registration takes place because the brain can only function when there is security, right? Properly, clearly, efficiently, right? No, sir?
I'm not sure I understand that. Security...
When it is safe, when it is not damaged, when it is not hurt.
Physically safe.
Both physically as well as psychologically. If it is hurt, then you act neurotically. If it is damaged in any way, all its actions will be deformed. So the brain says to itself, thought says to itself, there must be security. Right? So this is, no?
But isn't that the desire for security the same as being hurt?
We're going to find out. First see that how the brain not demands, asks, it should be completely secure. Whether it is secure in fact, in actuality, or in an illusion, in a fancy, or in what is. You understand? One might find security in a belief. It has no validity. I believe the earth is flat. But the belief in the earth being flat gives it security. Till you come along and say, don't be foolish, it is round. I'm frightened. Then I begin to investigate, see it. And in that I also seek security. I wonder if this is simple and clear. So the brain, so have you watched a child? It wants security from its mother. And so from the original ape The instinct is to be protected, to find safety, to have somebody to hold you so that you are comfortable. You've seen all this in a baby. And now, what do we mean by safety? You understand? What do we mean by being secure? Right? We say the brain must be secure, must have security to function efficiently. Right? Has it found security? I'm asking, sir, I don't know. Has it found security? Yes, physically? Has it? No, just listen, sir. Has it? Not your particular brain. Your particular brain is the result of millions of years of evolution, growth. It's not your particular brain. It's the brain of man, of a human being. And just let me finish what I'm saying. Forgive me, I'm not. We are saying it needs security, it must have security, but has it? It has said there is security in tribalism, right? Belonging to a tribe. Glorified nationality is the continuation of the tribal instinct. Now, when there are nations separate from each other, and each group says, I am safe here, then is there safety? There are wars. So you are not even physically safe.
There's just the idea of safety.
Huh?
There's the idea of
safety. That's what I'm coming to, sir. So what are you saying? When you say the brain needs safety, at what level, at what depth, or vertically or horizontally, is there any safety at all in what we are doing? The rich and the poor, you follow the whole social structure. Does it give you safety? Not for your particular period of life, maybe 30 years or 50 years or 100 years, but for the brain of a human being, of humanity, of which you are.
Sir, we've been discussing, I believe, the fact that the brain wants self-preservation.
Yes, which is...
That I agree to be security, but also the brain, I believe, strives for more than this, and that is self-perpetuation.
Well,
so it's coupled with the problem of acquisition, wanting more.
Self-perpetuation, because in perpetuating itself in another, separating itself and thinking it is separate and perpetuating in another, that idea gives it safety. Now we are asking, is there safety in what we are cultivating, what we are demanding, what our society, politicians, economy, etc., is creating around us, which we have created. Not somebody else has created it, but we, in our desire to be secure, the brain has created this extraordinary society which so, etc., etc. Yes, madam.
I don't see that there is any security, not psychological or physical, because what we're doing all the time is creating these images which are barriers, and all the time we try to overcome them, but it's just that false security, it's an illusion.
Understand? look, madam, is it an illusion when you have got a husband or a wife and each person seeks security in the other? We actually face it. Do you call that illusion? This is what we are doing. I wish you would go step. All right. So we are saying the brain needs security. It has found security in religion, right? In conclusions, in concepts, in ideas, in images, which prevent seeing clearly, right? That's all we are coming to that. That is our question. Now, can this desire or the urge or the compulsion to be secure, the brain activity, stop for a few seconds even? You understand my question? Am I explaining myself clearly?
How can we answer that question without it already being a conclusion from our previous experience?
No, you will see. No, that's why. If you conclude it's from a previous experience, so we are saying without conclusion, can you observe that flower without conclusion, without naming it? Can you observe your girl or your boy, the politician, the priest, whatever it is? Can you observe without some kind of opinion, reaction, judgment, evaluation, jumping and interfering with your observation?
Sir, it seems to me as long as we're concerned about the accumulation surrounding the observation, no, we cannot.
Yes, sir, it's part of simulation. That's it, we all agree. But would you please consider this for a few minutes? That's why we asked from the very beginning, if you are serious in the pursuit of this question, you'll have to find out for yourself whether this perception can ever be clear, not distorted. It can only be clear, not distorted, when there is no interference from the past. The past being the remembrances, the associations, the ideas, the images, and so on, so on. So, to make it very simple, now, can you observe without the past? That is, can you observe your friend, your girl, your husband, your wife, or your man, without all the remembrance of the past interfering from your observation? Yes, sir.
Without the past, we wouldn't be able to understand the words you're saying.
What's that?
Without the past, we wouldn't be able to understand the words you're saying.
Without the past, we wouldn't be able to understand the words.
No, sir. Look, sir. May I put it differently? The observer looking at that flower, the observer who looks, is not the observer, the past. Not clear? Let me make clear. You observe. You observe your wife. the observer, the I who says I'm observing, is not that observer made up of all the images, of all the remembrances, of all the insults, of all the pleasures, of all the sexual, etc., which is all the past. So, is not the observer the past? Right? That's simple. Now, so the past is looking at the flower and saying that is chrysanthemum, that's a rose, that's pink, that's violet, and so on. So the past is always observing the present. Right? Goes, I don't know yet. We are asking if when one sees the observer is the past, which interferes with perception, right? Then one asks, is it possible for the past, the observer, to end and look? This is complex, because if you want to go into it, I'll go into it much more deeply. I must come to this point first. So, the past, with all the memories, hurts, insults, happiness, boredom, tears, everything is the past. That is the essence of the observer. Now, the observer then says that is chrysanthemum, names it, and thinks it has understood it, thinks it has seen it. Right? Now, I am asking, can that observer come to an end? I've asked the right question, therefore it must be the right answer. You will get it in a minute. You understand my question? Am I making myself clear? So, is love a remembrance? No, don't shake your, please. Go into it. See what we are all doing. So I won't bring in love because it brings. So can that observer come to an end so that there is clarity of perception? Now, it can come to an end only when the observer says, when the observer realizes that which he is observing is the observed. The observer is the observed. Right, sir? No. Go slowly. I'll explain. Now, wait a minute, sir. How do you listen to that idea, to that statement? The speaker said just now, the observer is the observed, right? It's a statement. You don't understand it. So what the devil are you talking about? But how do you listen to it? Do you listen to find out? Or you are listening with saying, I don't understand? Or you're resisting? Or you trying to make it into an idea? You follow what I'm saying? Which is that you're doing? When the speaker makes the statement that the observer is the observed, how do you listen to that? How do you approach that statement?
We don't want to approach that.
Huh?
We don't want to listen.
Huh?
We don't want.
We don't want to approach it. We don't want to listen.
We don't want to listen, we don't want to approach it. All right, don't approach it. Who cares? Don't listen. Sorry.
The way the observer is the past, the accumulation, the memories and hurts and everything of the past. And then you said the observer is the observed.
I said to you, sir, how do you listen to it?
I was still back on the other.
How do you listen? How do you listen to any statement which you have not heard before?
By creating images.
I'm asking, how do you listen to some statement or some fact which you have never heard or listened or seen? How do you come to it? How do you receive it?
With joy.
With attention, sir, I believe. Seems that the way when I look in my mind to see the way I listen, I form an image. You say the observer is the observed. I form an image of something which is the observed.
Therefore, you have already come to a conclusion. Therefore, you're not listening. I'm not saying you should.
No. Yeah, I don't know what listening is.
No, sir. No. Sir, look, may I put it in a different way? How do you approach a question which you have not heard before, a statement which you have not listened to before? How do you approach it?
Sir, there seems to be a pause. You look for an answer.
What is your actual approach? Because your approach is going to dictate the answer, right? If you are frightened, your answer will be a thing that will be frightening. If you approach it with saying, I must get agitated about it, your answer will have no meaning. So you must find out for yourself, if I may ask, what is your approach to a statement like the observer is the observed?
Sir, cannot be any other than one with each other on the same vibration. One with is the observed, being the observer.
Excuse me. Look, sir, how do you observe your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, husband? How do you observe it? Please, I'm asking you. You are observing the image that you have created about that person, right? So the observer is the observed, which is the image. Huh? Do you see that? Very simple. No, don't move away from the moment. Please hold on a minute. You can discuss it a little later. I'm not preventing you from discussing or contradicting or saying you're rot what you're talking about. But I'm just asking, when you observe your boyfriend or girlfriend or your husband or wife, the observer is the past, the memories, all that. When he observes the wife or the girl or the boy, he's observing. The observer is the observed, is the picture, right? Huh? So the past has created the present, which is the wife or the girl or whatever it is. All the churches are filled with this. The past has created all that, and when you observe, the past is observing. So the observer is the picture, is the image which he has created. Clear? So I've got it. This is really very important once you get this. So the observer is the observed, which means there is no longer the difference between the observer and the observed. Right? And so you remove the conflict, the division. Right? Is this clear? May we go on with this? How you? I'm working. I hope you're also working. So we have found something extraordinary, right? You have found something extraordinary, which is you have removed the cause of conflict, which arises when there is division. The Arab, the Jew, the Muslim, the Hindu, you follow? The communist, social, and so on. So you have removed the conflict that comes about when there is division. Right? That is, when the observer realizes that which he is observing is himself. Right. So we are left now with the fact that the observer is the observed. Right? The fact. Huh?
So what takes place of the observer? If the
We're coming, first see the facts, what happens. So the observer is the observed, right? Then what happens to the observer? Listen, I'll put you a question, if I may. What happens to the observer?
He becomes the observer.
Look at yourself. You have a girlfriend, and so on. I don't have to repeat this eternally. When you have an image about her, and the image is the past, and the observer is the past. So the observer, when he looks at her or at him, is seeing himself as the observed, right? Then what happens? Go slowly. Then what happens actually? No, sir, don't say. Go into it very slowly, patiently. Yes, sir.
You make a judgment and you create another conflict.
Yeah. So you don't make judgments. You don't struggle. So it is, right? So it's a fact for the first time you are seeing. A fact. Wait, go slow, what happens then?
Sir, after a judgment is made, a person or the mind is no longer able to acquire anything about the observed.
So, look, let's move in another direction for a second. The thinker is the thought, right? If there is no thought, there is no thinker, right? So the thinker is the thought. So before he has divided thought and the thinker, something has happened. Huh? Back on, all right. we say the thinker is the thought. Without the thinker, there is no thought. So there is no division between the thinker and the thought, right? There is only thinking, not a thinker, right? Now wait a minute, go slowly. The experiencer is the experience. Now you are going to rebel against this. Right? Go into it carefully, because most people are seeking experience. Super or physical experience, various forms of experience. Thinking that the experiencer is different from the experience. Right? But we are saying the experiencer is the experience. The experiencer, if he doesn't recognize the experience, it has no meaning. Right? He can only recognize and explain the experience according to the past memory. So the past is the experience. Right? I wonder if you see this clearly. So there is no seeking of experience. I wonder. You won't like this. Right? Before, you went out seeking experience. India went to India, followed the gurus, did all kinds of silly, nonsensical things, thinking that's experience. But when you realize that the experiencer, who is the past, right, with all the memories, goes out there, he will recognize the guru or the experience according to his conditioning, the past. So the past is that which he is experiencing. No? So the mind then says, I've seen this, no, I'm not asking any further experience. This is a tremendous thing if you discover this. Then you are a light to yourself. I won't go into that, leave that for the moment. So, we said the past is the observer who thinks he is separate from that which he is observing, and so he says, I am looking, I am examining, I am drawing a conclusion, right? All that is the action of the past. So, when one realizes the observer is the observed, then what takes place?
No images.
Huh?
No more images?
No more? Okay. So, talk from direct.
Well, if I observe a flower with an image, do we mean that I'm in contact with the image, not the flower? And yet I am the image?
No, sir, no, sir. If you understand, if you realize that the observer is the observed, we've gone into it enough for the moment. When you realize that as a fact, then what takes place? Then what takes place? We go slowly, madam. You're too quick.
The addition of accumulation around the observation ceases to be added to. There is no additional accumulation around the observation.
So what does that mean?
Go beyond.
That means we're free
Not
From
we.
that that
We,
is.
not we.
When this happens to me, my mind relaxes and it doesn't keep trying.
Please, you haven't really seen this. That's why you talk. You haven't actually seen, realized, as you realize pain, hunger, sexual demands, you haven't seen the actual fact that the observer is the observed. Then what takes place?
Sir, if we're no longer taking any more sickness into our body, then the sickness that is present in our body at the moment is not being added to. There is no more sickness. There is only that is. We are not reinforcing the accumulation. We are not reinforcing the sickness any longer.
Sir, do please, if I may request you most kindly and respectfully, do you actually see the fact that the observer is the observed?
Sir, if I do see that fact, then at that moment there would be
No, not at that moment. Per sempre. I mean, for always.
I see that fact and I don't know what to do with it.
Not what you see. You have separated yourself and said, I don't know what to do with it. So you are acting as still the observer.
It's fleeting, it doesn't stay.
When we say observed, do you mean the observed as image?
Yes, sir. We said from the beginning, sir, that the observer, when you observe your wife or your girlfriend, the observer is made up of the past memories, past hurts, past insults, the images you have made about her, right? When you observe those images, those hurts, those remembrance are observing. You're observing that. Not your wife, not your girl. You're observing that. So the observer is that. Right? Just if that is absolutely clear, then what happens? No. Who is you feeling alive? You see, you haven't gone into this. Look, this is part of meditation. You want to know about meditation. This is the beginning of meditation, the vitality of meditation. If you don't understand this, you can go off into meditation and go off into all kinds of illusions and silly nonsense. Because we are eliminating totally the division between the observer and the observed, who creates conflict, me and you, we and they, the Arab and the Jew, the American, the Russian, the Indian and the Muslim. We are removing totally all that division. If you see, the observer is the observed. Look, the Hindu in India and the Muslim in Pakistan, divided by a boundary, divided by nationality, divided by language, divided by their religious beliefs, all that is created by thought, right? Right? The thought is memory, the past. So when you see that one is conditioned by a belief, whether it's Hindu, Muslim, Jew, you are then observing the belief. So what happens when the observer is the observed. Because there, all you have eliminated, there is the elimination, not you have eliminated, there is the elimination of all conflict.
There's no direction.
Huh?
One has no direction.
Oh, no. You're guessing, madam, please.
Doesn't the mind become quiet and there is a silence?
Huh?
Doesn't the mind become quiet and there is a silence there?
I don't know, sir. I don't know what happens. You have to find out.
At this moment, it is a past who just heard this, and there is a feeling one must experiment with this more.
There is no experiment. May I go into it a little bit? Please, I'm not trying to influence you. I'm not trying to make you think the way I think. I don't think. So, if you think you're going your own way, there is only the observation of the fact that the observer is the observed. Right? That's the fact. And that realization has come because I have carefully examined the whole process. It was not a stupid conclusion, an illusory conclusion, a desired conclusion. It's been logically, reasonably, sanely examined. And that examination shows the observer is the observed. Right? So what has happened? Before, the observer tried to do something about the observed. He tried to control it, he tried to shape it, he tried to deny it, he tried to suppress it. He did everything to conquer it, one way or the other. Here there is none of that, because he realizes the observer is the observed. So, the central point of conflict has been eliminated. Right? Have you? Therefore, what has taken place? Through conflict, you have wasted energy. Right? The mind, in conflict, which is division, the observer and the observed, in that division, energy has been expanded, wasted. Right? Through conflict. When there is no conflict, what takes place? There is no wastage of energy. Right? So what happens? Then that which is observed, because there is only pure observation, not the image observing itself. I wonder if you see all this. No. Look, sir, when there is no observer, there is only observation, isn't there? Not conclusion, not opinions, not fixations, just observation. Then, when there is that observation, that which is being observed undergoes a change. I wonder if you see this. Look, sir, make it take very simple example. You're interested in all this? Good, good. Am I stimulating you? I'm afraid I am. That's why you all have depended so much on stimulation. And this, you add another stimulation to this. But I'm not acting as a stimulation at all. I'm just showing to you. And if you want to look at it, look at it. If you don't, don't. It's very simple. I am greedy, let's suppose. I am greedy. So far, my conditioning has said, I am different from greed, right? I can control greed. I deny greed. I say, what's wrong with being greed? But when there is the realization that the greed is me, of course, right? Then what takes place? There is the observation of that reaction which has been named as greed, right? There is only observation of that feeling, of that reaction, which has been named as greed. I don't name it now. I just observe it. In the observation, that feeling is undergoing a change. I wonder if you realize. So there is the thing that has been called greed, this is non-existent. I wonder if you see this. This requires real, right, sir? The very thing you observe, very thing that is being observed undergoes a radical transformation if there is no observer. We don't change fundamentally as human beings because we have divided the observer different from the observed, right? So there is no fundamental change, but there is a fundamental change, radically and great depth, when the observer is the observed, and so there is only pure observation. When there is that pure observation, that which is being observed undergoes a radical change. Because there is no naming it, no conclusion about it, no abstraction, no escape, just observe. God, have you got this? Are you doing this? Look, so let me put it around one other way. We are used to self-analysis or professional analysis, right? Right? Introspection or inspection by another, which is called analysis. Professional analysis or self-analysis. Now, is the analyzer different from the analyzed? I'm sorry there are here psychoanalysts. I hope I'm not pulling the rug under their feet. This is a fundamental question even the analyzers must ask. Is the analyzer, wait a minute, I'm analyzing my greed, right? Is greed different from me? Obviously not. I am greed. Then what am I examining? And who is it that's examining? Right? So the analyzer is the analyzed. No? So I don't analyze. There is pure observation of that which before was being analyzed. Right? So there is no analyzer at all. Right, sir? That means you are denying the whole concept of division. The analyzer and the analyzed. You are my patient and I'm analyzing you, or you are analyzing me. But when you and I realize that the analyzer is the analyzer, that greed is me, right? How can I examine the me? I can only examine the me if there is a higher me, which was another part of my invention. I don't know if you follow this. So I invented God or superego or super consciousness, which is examining. That super consciousness or super self or super God is still me. Right? So I stop analyzing. Not I stop, analysis stops. Then what happens to that reaction, which I've called greed? You follow? I've analyzed greed, and I say it's right, wrong, good, bad, why shouldn't I, all the rest. Now I realize, well then not I realize, there is the realization that greed is the observer. So there is observation of that thing called a feeling, right? Just observation. When there is this clear observation, that feeling undergoes a radical change, must. Because you're not naming it, you're not denying it, you're not suppressing it, that changes. I wonder if I made this clear. Right, sir? Have I made this clear? No, not I. Do you see it clearly for yourself? Therefore, you are out of this conflict. Greed and I'm not greed. You follow? The battle that goes on inwardly all the time. So when this takes place, there is always clear observation without any motive, without any conclusion, just to observe. So you don't know what it means to observe a flower without naming it, to observe the person whom you think you love, to observe. Perhaps the lady or the man won't like it. Because you have suddenly brought about a radical transformation in yourself. Now, to observe without association, that was the question. Now, this is part of meditation. To remove totally the observer who is seeking God, seeking enlightenment, seeking fighting. Right? So meditation comes then as you live, we'll talk about later about that. Is it time, sir?
Yes, it's 5
Huh?
and 1.
I hope it will not rain. Thursday we might meet in the Grove or another place. Sorry, may I get up? May I go?